Hello and welcome back. This video is going to be a mashup video of my reading wrapped from April and my to be read in May. And since there is a lot going on in my life right now, I'm not doing the TBR jar this month because I want to finally catch up on the books that have been part of the jar in the last few weeks or so. So I figured we would go over the books that I'm going to read first and then dive into the ones that I read in April. This will just be a really quick overview. For my book clubs, I know for sure that I will be reading Pride and Prejudice, which is a classic that I have actually never read before, which I know is criminal, and I know the hand flexing scene, all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to experience it for the first time, okay? And then the other one I'm going to read is called Youth Juice, and this is a horror book. I believe it's like very body horror, beauty standards focused kind of horror. It's been compared a lot to Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Wang. I'm very interested to see how that compares. So those are the two that I'm reading for sure, and I have to double check my third book club to see what the pick is since I missed last month's reading. The books that I'm going to read on my personal TBR, I have some here, but Way of Kings is down there and it's chunky and I don't feel like getting it. So we're gonna skip that. But I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, but I don't remember a single thing about this book other than the characters' names, because I was not in a reading headspace for about 3 weeks because it was job related, and I will get into that. So I want to eventually reread this. I put in a request for the audiobook, and that should be coming in a couple months, so maybe I'll retry then, because I liked it, but I just couldn't keep focus for whatever reason. And then I just still have The Teller of Small Fortunes. I do want to get back into fantasy, so I'm hoping that this short one can kind of catapult me into that. And then I have Eliza and Her Monsters, which is a YA book, and I'm going to try to make an effort to read some more YA books, which you'll find out why in a minute. But these books for sure, you know, adding into the mix, I have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry that I'm currently going through right now, and I've started a vlog for that, but then life got crazy in the best way possible, so I don't know if that'll come to fruition or not. Still being read regardless. With that being said, I have a very exciting life update to share. I am no longer going to be a corporate girly. I'm very excited about it, actually. I recently found out that I got a job at a high school, and I will be working in their library and media center. I'm basically going to be like the school's librarian, and I'm going back for my master's in education, focused on school counseling, but this is like the first step into like the school district for me, so I can get some experience while I'm going to grad school. This was like a change that I kind of knew I wanted for a while, but I just had to wait for the stars to align, and they aligned. So I'm very excited about that. I am going to try to read more like YA books so that I can, you know, inform and recommend books to teens, you know, and make sure that they're not only reading things that they enjoy, but like that'll make them think. But I'm so beyond excited, and this is just a snippet of like the great big feelings that I've been having lately. To the wrap up now. I figured for this wrap up we would do something kind of fun because I read 12 books and I don't intend on going through every single book in like major detail. So I figured it would be fun to start with the book that I enjoyed the least and work all the way up to the book I enjoyed most. A lot of these were on audio because I couldn't focus for shit this entire month. It was really bad. I tried so hard, but audiobooks were here to save the day, so I really appreciate that. Bottom rung of this wrap up is a book that I was highly anticipating, and I was very disappointed by this book. Like, I think I had 10% of the book left, and I said, I literally don't care. And I did not finish the rest, but like I read the majority of it, so I counted it. This is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This was like on my 25 to read in 2025, and oh my gosh, this was just not it for me. I found it very hard to get into the story because we were following so many different perspectives, and I definitely thought it was going to be one thing, but it was another instead. There's this summer camp, and we're following some of the people that work in the summer camp, and then a camper goes missing, and it's really important because it's like the people who created the summer camp. It's like their daughter or whatever. So she's got like ties to the family and all this kind of stuff. Like a search and investigation going on, and we're also learning about like the events leading up to that night. I feel like this book just fell flat for me in the characterization. The plot twists were not very twisty. Writing style wasn't terrible. Like I would read another book by Liz Moore, but like this one was just so disappointing and like frustrating to me because I expected so much more out of this one. Number 11 for me is Hello Stranger. This book is a contemporary romance where we follow our main character. I don't even remember her name. I think it's like Sadie and this other dude. And Sadie is like a portrait artist, but she suffers from like minute facial blindness. So she has like a like accident where she like passes out and then like has a head issue, and we learned some really cool brain jargon that I wish I could remember right now because it was super interesting and I did learn a lot, and that was probably my favorite aspect of the book. The rest of the story fell flat, especially the romance. The whole setup with the love interest was really weird and like I didn't buy it for a second. I think where the story shined was Sadie kind of coming into herself and learning more about her own personality and how she has like connections to her mom. That was one thing that I found in all of Catherine Center's books, was like this complex relationship with a mother that's no longer there, and I really enjoyed that. Like I enjoyed more comparing Catherine Center's books than actually reading a lot of them, and I didn't dislike them. I liked them for the aspects other than the romance, if that makes sense. But this one, I just felt like I couldn't connect with the main character as much. So this book fell short for me. 10 is going to be the rom-commers. Now, I had the exact opposite experience with this one as I did Hello Stranger. I loved the main character in this book. Her name was Emma, and then the male love interest is Charlie. Like, I actually remember their names. But they are both screenwriters. Emma has, like, no experience screenwriting, and Charlie is this very famous screenwriter that Emma looks up to. And Emma has the opportunity to fix Charlie's manuscript for a rom-com that was really poorly written. So the two kind of team up, but Charlie's just an a-hole. Point blank. Like, I could not root for him at all. He was not very kind to Emma a lot of the time, not very kind to a lot of people. He's not a communicator. He kept secrets purposely from Emma, and Emma is a gem. She's literally so sunshiny, cares about her family so much, would do anything, but she also has like very firm boundaries. Like you see that in the very beginning where she kind of, something happens and she's like, this is not what I wanted, and you know this isn't what I wanted, and I will not do this if this is the setup. So that made me like really care about her from the beginning. She was like strong female heroine without like being like, I'm not like other girls. She was just a delight to read about, to root for, and I enjoyed that, along with the conversation of taking care of a parent that now has like a chronic issue. I thought all of that was really well done in the story. I just didn't love the romance between Charlie and Emma, unfortunately, so that's where the book kind of lost me. Number 9 on this list is another semi-disappointing romance book. I read a ton of romance books this month because that's what I like to listen to on audio. This was a big disappointment as well. This was also on my 25 to read in 2025, and that was Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I wish I could take a star off this book for every single time she compared the main character to Raisan from ACOTAR. We have two main characters. We have Samantha and Xavier, and they get off on a rough start at a vet appointment where Samantha brings in this kitten that, needs a surgery, we'll say. Needs a surgery, and Xavier says, no, it'd be better to put the kitten down because this surgery is super expensive and it's a rarity that it would, be long lasting for the kitten. And Samantha goes, well, watch me, I'm going to raise the money and do it. After that, they go on like this spectacular whirlwindy date until Samantha drops the bomb on Xavier that she's moving across the country. And it's those two trying to navigate the relationship while Samantha's taking care of her mother who has dementia, and they're miles and states apart from each other. It sounds very cute and set up, but I feel like a lot of this book, the beginning, the first like fourth, had me sat. It was interesting, like their dates sounded like fun, but then once the story kept progressing, it felt like we were winding in different ways, and I felt like I knew one character more than the other, and it felt like one character was not fleshed out very much. Things were repeated over and over, like the inside joke about "Come on, Eileen," the references to Xavier looking like Rysand in the Fey Lord and all this stuff, and Samantha making posts about mustard on social media that were like kind of funny sometimes, but then infuriating as the book went on. And like Xavier was so down bad to the point where it was like unbelievable how much pain and suffering he was putting himself through to ensure that he and Samantha's relationship continued. I didn't love the ending. It felt very convenient, and I love the idea of what it was supposed to represent, but I just don't feel like this was Abby Jimenez's best work. Cal came in to remind me that I had forgotten to talk about a book, and now I feel bad. So I'm going to talk about that book while I'm holding Cal. The book that I forgot was the other Catherine Center book that I listened to on audio, and that was called The Bodyguard. This one was my favorite of the bunch. Okay, he's going to go down now. This one was following our main character, Hannah, and our male main character's name is Jack, and Hannah is assigned to be a bodyguard to Jack, who is a professional actor. And she is like really trained. She's very good at what she does, but she's very unassuming. So she has to be the role undercover of being like his girlfriend while he stays with his family, and she's protecting him from a crazy stalker fan. This book was not what I expected, but not in a bad way. It was more about them faking the persona of being together than her actually being a bodyguard, but there is a scene where she like picks him up and flips him down, and it's pretty awesome because she is a small woman. Hannah was a very fun character to follow. Like, she had a lot of very realistic struggles and like perfectionism that she struggled with, but I also really liked Jack because you could see his caring side come out more and more, and I think the like reveal with like his family and everything was done really well. I enjoyed watching these two, and I'm a sucker for the fake dating trope, so of course I was like, this is great, peak fiction. And again, we saw the theme in Catherine Center's books about having a mother that's no longer there and how that impacts our main character. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. If you're gonna go read a Catherine Center, go read The Bodyguard because it was really fun. Okay, next on the list is another book that I was mildly disappointed with, but I still gave it a 4 stars. So we're gonna talk about Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, the new Hunger Games book. This follows Haymitch's story. It's another prequel, so you have like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the original trilogy, and then this book would fall in between those two. And we are back in first-person point of view following Haymitch as he navigates the 50th Hunger Games. This book had a lot of good to it. It's not the type of book that made me sob viscerally on the internet like it made most people, but I still really loved it, especially the epilogue was some of like the parts that really got me. I think this book did a great job of fleshing out Haymitch's character a bit more and talking about the way that we present to other people. Like, Haymitch was, you know, going off this persona of, oh, I'm a rascal and blah blah blah, and finding out that like all the footage was tampered with, making him seem like a worse person than he actually was. I think that conversation was very interesting. I think getting some more context behind like the Covey and the people that we know in District 12 was cool. Also, how a lot of the groundwork for Catching Fire started way back here. I do, however, feel as if a lot of the themes were like hitting me over the head with a stick. I love Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes for the fact that it felt more mature. It felt like the most mature entry in the series, and it had a lot of like nuanced themes that didn't tell you how to think. Whereas this book was like, hey, propaganda's bad. Did you know that propaganda is bad and the government's corrupt? And it's like, yes, I got it, Suzanne. I got it, you know? Like, it was just a bit much for me. I also think that one of my major complaints too is that Haymitch had so much plot armor. Like, you're telling me that this man was never like sought after by the Capitol in the games at all? I don't believe that. There were just some things where I was like, okay, we're doing this, okay, and we're doing that. Like, a lot of the characters' cameos, I was happy to see Beatty and Wyrus, but like Mags didn't make sense there, you know? I thought it was still good though, and I'm so excited for the movie adaptation. I thought the first third of this book was really well written and really exciting. But I think it started to lose me in the middle point, and then I really did like the epilogue. So there are really good parts to this book. If you are a Hunger Games fan, you're gonna love this. I just thought it was okay. The next book I'm actually so excited to talk about. This was a pleasant surprise for me. First Time Color by B.K. Borison. I really enjoyed this. This was my first B.K. Borison book. I haven't read anything from Love Light Farms, that whole series. I thought this was so cute, so beautifully written. The characters felt fleshed out and that I knew them, and the story flowed together. I loved it. We're following a main character by the name of Lucy, and our male main character is Aiden, and Aiden runs a late night love, talk show, essentially, where people call in and talk about love and things, and then Aiden gives advice or talks to the people. And Lucy has been out of the game of love for a long time, and her daughter actually calls in on behalf of her, talks to Aiden. Lucy finds out, and then Lucy and Aiden have this really deep conversation where it feels like they're emotionally connected and talk about just love and being yourself with someone, and it goes viral. The podcast clip goes viral. The producers are like, we like this Lucy girl. What if we brought her back and recorded the entire journey of love? And so that's what they do. And along the way, there are some feelings. I really loved Lucy in this book. She was a great main character. I loved the commentary about co-parenting and being there for your family, but also trying to find your purpose, and how you're not going to settle for someone that doesn't treat you right. I also love the fact that Lucy was a mechanic. That's really cool, and we don't usually see female heroines being blue collar, and I loved that. That was great. I also did really think Aiden was charming too. It was just so sweet to see Lucy break down his exterior, and I enjoyed every moment of this book. There were so many lovely scenes of them together, and I literally wrote this in my Goodreads review. I ordered a pineapple pizza for lunch the second I finished the book. But you could just tell they were so into each other, and the acts of service and always showing up. It was just a delight to read, and I can't wait for the next B.K. Borison book to come out. Another new favorite romance. I loved this. This was Out on a Limb by Hannah Boehm Young. And this is about Win and Bo. They both have different disabilities. So Bo lost his leg due to cancer, and Win has a smaller hand. And so they have a one-night stand on Halloween, and this is not a spoiler, this is part of the book. Win accidentally gets pregnant, and then the two have to come together and decide how they're going to navigate the situation, how they're going to co-parent, and all this kind of stuff. For something that seems so heavy, this book was just a little dollop of sunshine. It was very fun to read. I was smiling the entire time we're reading it. Bo was such a lovable male main character, and mostly the fact that he reminds me of my fiance, so I can't say anything. Tall, nerdy, nice hair, all those sorts of things. Plus there's a whole scene about D&D, so how could I not fall in love with this? But Win, I also really loved her as a character, and her relationship with her friend Sarah was so fun. There wasn't a lot of conflict in this book. That would be my one complaint. This book is mostly sunshine and happiness and all of that. I think they tried to set up some conflict, but it wasn't executed the best in my perspective. Once we got towards the end of the book, I was oh my god, are we towards the end? It wasn't something where I'm this is my new all-time favorite thing ever, but I really loved it. I thought the disability representation was done with such love and care, and you could see that Win really cared about young kids with the same disability as herself. I just really liked them as characters, and I liked their friendships and how they operated together. Yeah, this was so much fun though. I really loved this book. Now we're going to take a sharp left turn. I did read a book on my TBR that I had tried to pick for myself. I read Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. This was depressing. This was something that I read right after Out on a Limb, and I was oh, that's a departure. This book is about this girl named Cassie, and she gets a job in the Silicon Valley, this big tech startup company or whatever. and she feels like her life is like her constantly running on a hamster wheel doing the same things, and like she's been injected with like grind culture and like fake it till you make it and corporate brain rot and all this kind of stuff weighing down on her. Pressure and like anxiety and sadness manifests in what she calls her black hole above her head, which it was a metaphor for depression, and I thought it was well done. It's just, the imagery in this book was fantastic. Everything connects back to like the ripening of a fruit, and that's why like the cover is this. Like, I want to sit down with this book and really think about all the themes, because this covers everything from like mental health issues to capitalism to religion to sin to all these kinds of things like tied into one book. And it's not something you should go in with lightly, especially like it gets dark towards the end, but it's something that I think was still good to read. Like, the writing in it is really well done, and there are some like pages in the back that I might have to look at. Ooh, in the back they have like topics and questions for discussion. There's just so much. Like, I'm still so shell-shocked by it that I haven't been able to consolidate any of my thoughts. But it's definitely the major takeaway that I had from this was the fact that we are fed a certain narrative in life about happiness and productivity and, you know, contributing to society and things. And like, I read this at a time where I wasn't sure about my career path or anything. And as you know, as an earlier clip in this video, I kind of figured out what I wanted, and it's more about being happy and doing what I want than working a cushy job where I may make a lot, but I don't have that same satisfaction as like doing something that I want to do. I think this was an important read for me. Definitely check trigger warnings but before you go in. But yeah, Cassie kind of goes through it here. She's got a lot going on, not only with her job, but her personal life. And it is exquisite, absorbing, and unforgettable for sure. I finally got to a sequel that I've been meaning to read for a long time. Finally did it. I finished Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. This is the second book in the Darker Shade of Magic series, and I can't go into too much about this book because it's the second book, but all I'm going to say is we love a tournament arc. We love a tournament arc, we love new characters, we love high stakes. That's what all of this is, and I loved it. Like, this was the perfect sequel, quite honestly. I didn't quite give it 5 stars though, just because it didn't have that special like magical feeling, but it would be like a 4.5 in my eyes. We're following our main characters, Kel and Lila, as they are navigating this like these 4 different Londons that all have different types of magic, and Kel is in Antari, which means he is like very magical and can jump through the different worlds essentially. And then Lila is a thief, and in this book she's a pirate, and it's like them crossing paths and a lot of conversations about like death and purpose and pain in this book. And I really enjoyed all of it. Plus, also, I love the new character, Alucard, who's introduced. He is fantastic. So if you haven't read the first book, go read that, because this book is just even better than the first one. It was a fun, magical time. Definitely a lot of magical descriptions that were so cool. I could literally see them playing out in my head. This was beautiful. And then I lied. I didn't even remember how many romance books I actually read this month. I reread Funny Story by Emily Henry. I'd already read this book before, so that's why. I'm also mad because my copy has water damage from a pot that was leaking on top of my bookshelf, and I bought this brand new, so now 2 of my Emily Henry books have water damage. But I'm not going to get rid of the books because we still love them. This is her newest release before Great Big Beautiful Life, but Funny Story is about Daphne and Miles, and they get into a situation where their significant others dump them and start dating, and they were like childhood friends. So Daphne was actually supposed to get married to this guy named Peter, and he literally dumps her the night before the wedding to get with his childhood friend Petra, who was Miles's girlfriend at the time. And so the two kind of have to come together and pick up the pieces of their shattered relationships. Daphne is very much like a rule follower, introvert, librarian type girl who really loves her job and is kind of scared to put herself out there, whereas Miles is the social butterfly bartender and foodie who makes everyone fall in love with him. The two together are dynamic and wonderful, and they understand each other, they listen to each other, and I originally gave this book like 3.5 to 4 stars when I first read it, but now it is definitely a 5. This book was so good. Like, it jumped up my list for Emily Henry books after reading it. Especially, I loved the conversations surrounding Daphne's relationships with her parents, her complex one with her dad, and then her really close one with her mom, and what it means for family. And like, we see Miles with his sister and how close they are. There's a lot of really good like family connections and complications in this book. And also, I just think the commentary on relationships in general was great. Like, Daphne has this friend Ashley, and they're starting to become friends more, but it's navigating like how to make friends as an adult and what that means too. This was just so much fun to read. It was emotionally hard-hitting in all the right ways. I really loved this, and now I need to re-rank all the Emily Henry books, but I have to finish Great Big Beautiful Life first. But this was 5 stars. Great. The number 1 book that I read this month that I loved so dearly was Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This was my book club pick for my horror book club, and oh my gosh, all of us loved it. Like, all gave it 4.5 to 5 stars. It was incredible. This is a YA horror that is equal parts dark academia, gothic, and botanical. We're following our 2 main characters. We're in Andrew's head only, but then Thomas is our other character that we kind of focus in on. And they go to this academy. I think it's... I'm gonna look up the name. They go to Woodwick Academy together, and they're in their senior year, so they're like 17, 18 years old. But basically, Andrew is a writer and Thomas is an artist, and Andrew writes these really disturbing stories, and Thomas draws really disturbing drawings to go with it. And that's kind of how they communicate, through art, and they kind of have like this obsession and love for each other. But there's an issue at the academy where in the forest that's surrounding the school, monsters are coming to life, and they're the monsters that Andrew and Thomas are creating, basically. This book, oh my gosh, it is so well written for a YA book. Just the descriptions were beautiful and haunting and so, like, foresty is the best way to describe it. Like, they use the imagery of the forest to describe a lot of like mental illness sort of things, so like check the trigger warnings before going into this book. But this story just covers it all. It like talks about, you know, growing up as a teenager and being confused, grief, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, bullying, all these sorts of things kind of come into this, and they're represented through like the monsters and everything too. Andrew's just such a lovable character, and you just can't help but hope the best for him and Thomas the entire time while you're reading it, because they are just kids navigating this. I loved this book so much. I feel like I'm not doing it justice right now, but the second it comes out in paperback, I will be ordering a copy, and I know C.G. Drews has another book coming out in like August or October, I can't remember, but it's called Hazelthorn. And I will be reading everything that this author puts out now. These were the only 3 that I owned that I read. So we'll put a nice little bow on this wrap-up slash life update slash TBR. But if you made it to the end of the video, thank you for coming here, chatting about books, spending time with me. I am by the same name over on Instagram, and I also have a Webtoons comic. So if you are a graphic novel reader, or you know someone that is, share the Tales of Grandeur story with them. My illustrator friend and I just released part 2 of chapter 4, finally, after all this time. We'll both have a little bit more free time coming up, but we're very excited about it, and the world is kind of expanding in that story. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next video. Bye!